I am Lensman Renata Nikor, local sheriff. Why don't you come to my house for supper tonight and I can fill you in on your family history.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. Really, things could be worse. I don't know how much worse, but I'm hanging in there. Yeah, nice to see you too.
And it's good to see that you've been keeping busy, Barbara.
I think I've been killing the pandemic, for whatever reason. I've had a few opportunities that have happened during the pandemic, and so thank God for that. Yeah.
So congratulations on this one. So I watched it again last night. I really enjoyed it. This is a very different role for you, I felt. Not just because of you had to play a Norwegian character, but just the whole persona was very different for you. How did you get involved? Because I don't know if this is true or not, but I read that it was it was intended for a man first, no? Your role.
That's happened to me so many times. I don't remember which movie that happened on. I think they did write it as a man, but there was also when I did that movie Replace, Dr. Krober was also written for a man. So possibly this one could have been as well. But it was Sean Knopp, who I worked with actually on Replace, who was one of the producers on this film. He also did a movie called Charismata. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, the previous film of these guys, yeah.
Yeah, so Sean reached out to me personally because we're friends, and he said, we have this role for you. Would you like to do it? And you'd have to have a Norwegian accent, like a pretty substantial Norwegian accent, and also fly to Norway and do the film. And I said, okay, well, let me read the script. And, I thought it was really fun and very Lovecraftian, even though it wasn't based on any Lovecraft story. And also, I got to be the head of a cult. So, everybody wants to do that once in their life.
Iceland has its elves, Ireland has leprechauns, the rest of Norway has its trolls, and we have this lovely fellow.
And what does the writing say?
We just call him the slumbering one.
And obviously, one of the perks of your job is that you get to travel not just to film sets, but you get to travel to film festivals. But I imagine you never really get the time that you would like to really immerse yourself in these places. I mean, and now because you had to play the leader of a Norwegian cult, it must have been very important that you kind of immersed yourself as quickly as possible and as well as possible and as authentically as possible for this film.
Yes, and I had to, true. I mean, you never get as much time to sort of be a tourist as when you go to these film festivals, although you've been kind enough to take me around a few times that I've seen you. The place that we shot in Norway was kind of remote anyway. There wasn't an opportunity to go to any towns or really hang out and see any museums or anything like that. Everything was so spread out. We were in the country, and I stayed with the two gals in the film in a really beautiful Airbnb at the foot of a hillside, which was a fjord by some water. It was just so we would take walks and hikes whenever we weren't working. And I guess I got myself into the flavor of being on a remote island. And I also, before I even went to Norway, I don't know how to do a Norwegian accent. I guess I could watch Liv Ullmann movies, but I hired somebody to come to my house and for about 8 weeks and just say the dialogue with me over and over and over again so that I would, have the Norwegian accent down by the time I got there.
And then it's quite curious because yourself and the other two protagonists, they weren't from Norway, but the rest of the cast was all Norwegian. So that must have been quite a daunting experience for you to get to Norway, and all the rest of the cast were actually from there, no?
Some of them were from there, and the funny thing is, like, some of them grew up in Norway, moved away, and lived in England, and so there was a little bit of an English accent that came through a couple of times with a few people, so it was a little bit of a mix, but from what I understand, everybody's accent is, if you watch that show Vikings, there, it's a little, this Norwegian accent is a little fluid. It kind of moves a little bit. It's not It's not so exacting. But I just wanted to have, since I was the head of the cult, the most Norwegian accent I could possibly have. And the one who was the owner of the Airbnb that we stayed in was Norwegian and hardly ever leaves the town that she, Bjork is the name of the town that we were filming in. She hardly ever leaves that town. And she actually helped me as well, because at one point I have to say my daughter's name, Ostri, and they're always, rolling their R's like that, Ostri.
Yeah, like
And that was really good. And so she helped me with that particular name. I would keep knocking on her door and saying, "How do you say Ostri again?" So I had a lot of help, so that was great.
And also extra kudos for you got some water plays a big role in this film, and I didn't envy you when I saw you performing those rituals in the water. Was that as uncomfortable as it looked, even though you didn't look uncomfortable?
We tried to act like it wasn't uncomfortable. It was freezing. All had wetsuits on underneath our robes and booties and everything, because the water was really, really cold. And especially in the evening scene, when everybody has to go into the water, it was extremely cold. And so, we were just, huddled together as best we could. There was no, this is low budget independent filmmaking, so there was no trailer with heat or anything. They had some space heaters that we could sort of crowd around that were electric, but it wasn't, didn't really do much. So we, you just like you do with the elements, you just when you're filming. I've worked in 17 below on We Are Still Here outside. So you just have to pretend that it's not cold and you're really enjoying yourself. Yeah.
I'm running out of time, so I would say there's a few things I want to speak to you. Like I said, you've got loads of things coming up. Congratulations on Travis Stevens, Jacob's wife. It's going to be at South by Southwest.
Thank you.
Excited about that. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I've been working on it for about 5 years to get it to the screen, and it was a script that originally won a contest at Shriekfest, and the director of that festival, Denise Gossett, and the original writer, Mark Steensland, contacted me because they thought it would be a good role for me. And I had just started producing. So, I worked on Beyond the Gates and I did Castle Freak. So I thought, I hadn't done Castle Freak yet, but I said, I would really like to work on this. I really love this part. And it's really, I would say it's like a marriage story with horror elements. It's Larry Fessenden and I are sort of in a marriage that's not really, it's just sort of not going anywhere, and we're sort of maybe fed up with one another, and I'm particularly fed up with just my life and feeling like life has passed me by. And then a crisis happens, and it's something supernatural, and that changes our relationship forever.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. And then just one more thing that I want to ask you that I'm quite excited to see how it plays out is you were playing Mum in a video game, Back 4 Blood.
Yes.
That's something new. Have you ever done that before? Is that something different? I don't think you've done it before, no?
I've never done it before. It completely came out of the blue. The writer of the video game is a big horror fan, and he said when he was writing the game, he had me in mind. And so actually I was in Norway when they asked me to record myself for a potential audition for the game. And then right away they said, "Oh yes, we want you to do it." And then it was about 1.5 years later. We would have actually, it's a Warner Brothers game, so we would have actually been on the studio in motion capture, but because of the pandemic, they had to do it old school. So anyway, I still have to go back for a couple of more sessions, but I learned so much. They just threw me in and they said, "You're the lead in this, you're one of the leads in this video game." And, they would throw terms out to me about when we were recording about try this or try that. I said, "I don't know what you guys are talking about," but they were so great with me and they just taught me so much. And I had one of the experiences of my life working on that game. It was so fun and cathartic. I get to shoot zombies and, it's just, I'm a badass, and it was really, really cool. I would come home after the sessions, Howard, and I would have to take a nap because it was exhausting.
Yeah,
I had like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lines. Yeah, it was crazy, really fun.
Well, I've got to wrap up, Barbara. So it's really good to see you. I'm glad to see that you're keeping safe. And I hope to speak to you.
Yeah, say hi to your wife
sometime.
for me.
I certainly will do. Yeah, I hope to speak to you in better circumstances next time.
Okay, hope so,
All right.
Howard.
All the
love
best.
to
Take
you.
care, Barbara. All the best.
Okay,
Bye now.
bye.